everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're having a wonderful, warm, and cozy weekend. Today for my Happy Day series. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Happy Day series. It's all about using items we have on hand or in our stash. And so today I'm going to be using the stamp set from Hero Arts. It's the Love Stamp and Cut set. So it does come with a coordinating die. That's one thing I love about them. I have quite a few actually stamp and cut sets because of, well, one, the price point, and then two, of the availability. There's Happies, there's Enjoy, and this one just happens to say Love. But I'm also going to be using the Lacy Heart die from Technique Tuesday. It is so pretty. What this die does is actually cuts out a real pretty lace heart. So we're just going to jump in. I guess I already did. I'm going to start off by taking a stitched rectangle die. This one's going to cut out my panel to 3.5 inches by 4 3/4. And then I'm going to place the heart in the center, and I just ran that through the die cut machine. But you can see it cuts out the outline, and then it also cuts out the heart, which I thought was so pretty. Okay, now we need to doctor up that background, so I took a wood grain embossing folder that I had in my stash. This one is from Dairies, and I may have got this at Hobby Lobby. I'm not quite sure. I'll leave links below to where if I can find these items, if you're interested, and if I can't, I can suggest a substitute just in case you're interested. Okay, now we're going to color in this little heart. Now I'm going to use my distress inks, 4 different colors. I'm using Spiced Marmalade, Seedless Preserves, Peacock Feathers, and then a real pretty pink picked raspberry. And I'm just using my finger daubers to color those in. Now there's quite a few different shapes of flowers in this little lacy heart die cut, I guess you could say. And so I'm just coloring in all those different flowers with different colors. I thought they would be bright and vivid colors, and I think it's kind of summery, so it puts a little warmness in a very cold day. Okay, so that her little lacy heart is done. Okay, and I just removed my grid paper here so you can see better. I'm taking my tape runner. I'm going to adhere a piece of acetate behind this panel. Now, originally I wasn't going to make a shaker card with this. I wanted to add the acetate because I needed a place to add the little lacy heart. Otherwise it would just fall through my panel. And of course I like dimension, so I am going to pop this up. So I thought the acetate would be a nice little background for it. I'm going to use my glossy accents to adhere that to the center of my panel, and then that way everything's just laying nice and even on that panel. And I love how it just fits in there like a puzzle. So pretty. Okay. Now we're going to set that aside. We need a sentiment. Now I wanted to use the same colors that I used for my little lacy heart. And so to do that, I'm going to be using my distress inks. Now, normally distress inks are not made for stamping, let alone sentiments, and it does stamp blotchy. So I thought the Misty would help me. I wanted to know if it would even out my tones, and it did. It worked really good. So I wanted a gradient on the word love, so I added picked raspberry on the bottom, and then Spiced Marmalade on the top, and then I stamped it. And you can see how splotchy it looks. That's where the Misty comes in really handy. You can stamp over and over again. So I'm just going over with both colors and then restamping. I actually stamped this 3 times to get my image nice and crisp, and it did darken the colors a little bit, but I think that it's still, the outcome looked really pretty. Okay. Now, I wanted a little dimension on this word love. And so at first I was going to die cut out 3 pieces of white cardstock and layer them together. But I thought there has to be a faster way. So I grabbed a piece of black fun foam from my stash. The fun foam that I have is adhesive backed. So I'm just going to remove the adhesive, and then I'm going to hold this panel up to the light so I can see through it. And then I'm going to add the fun foam behind it. Now this is a great way to add dimension to your word dies. So I ran that through, and I did have to use my shim plate. I didn't realize it, but the word love is pretty intricate. The lines on it are pretty fine. but it's gorgeous font. I love this font. So I'm just going to pop out the pieces. And there's my word love. Got a little bit of dimension there. Now for the rest of the sentiment, in the stamp set, there's the words you so much. So my sentiment will say love you so much. And I'm just going to go in with my VersaFine ink, stamp that on my little scratch piece of white cardstock. And then just to make that black a little bit more vivid, I'm going in with some crystal clear embossing powder from Nuvo. And then I'm just going to go ahead and melt that embossing powder. I decided for the second part of the sentiment just to block it off. So I'm just going to take my scissors and basically cut out a rectangle with the bottom part of the sentiment. Most of the time I like to fishtail the ends, but I decided not to with this one. So that's our little sentiment. Now we're going to finish up with our panel here. I'm going to add some foam tape behind here and pop it up because in case you haven't noticed, I like a lot of pop on my cards. I lift up almost everything on my card. But I just the foam tape that I use is very thin, and so I like the dimension that it gives. Then I'm going to add some sparkling clear sequins. And then for the background, I thought it'd be really interesting to add a piece of black cardstock to really make those colors just stand out and pop a little bit more. And I love the outcome of this. For my card base, I'm using a standard A2 size card base, and then I'm just going to take my tape runner and adhere my panel right in the center. And the clear sequins in the back of that black cardstock I think just really adds a real subtle shine, which I like. Okay, using glossy accents, I'm going to adhere the word love to my card base here. And then I'm just going to add some foam tape behind the second part of my sentiment and place it right below the word love. Love that. Now I'm going to add some of those crystal clear sequins. These are by Pretty Pink Posh, and I will leave a link below to where I can check them out. They're really pretty clear, and they're different sizes, which is nice. I just add 5. I add 3 to the top left and then 2 around the sentiment area. And that's card number 1. I guess I don't know if I called it a Valentine's Day card. It could be, but so for my second card, I thought I would go with some reds and pinks. Let's make a true Valentine's Day card. So I'm going to take that lacy heart die and cut that out with some black cardstock, and I also cut out the same panel that I did in card 1. That way, this black cardstock will fit right in the center of the white panel, and I love the black and white contrast. I think it looks really pretty. Now for this background, I'm going to use a chevron embossing folder, so I have a little bit of texture back there. It's just not plain white. Okay, I'm going to flip that over and add some acetate behind here. Okay, now we need a little color. I did add glossy accents behind the black, and then I'm just going to place that on the acetate there. Okay, looks pretty. Now, I cut out a panel using a slightly smaller panel than the one earlier, and this one's just using some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I'm just going to blend 3 different colors of my distress inks. I'm going to go in with Festive Berries, Picked Raspberry, and then some Seedless Preserves. And I'm kind of blending them at a diagonal. Just kind of blending in those colors together so it's just not so choppy. And I think that's going to look really pretty as my background panel. I really wanted the red to show a little bit through, so I needed to lower it, so I'm just trimming off the bottom a little bit. I did the same thing with my sentiment, only the colors I used for my sentiment were the Festive Berries and the Picked Raspberry, so 2 different tones of reds and pinks. And then for the second part of my sentiment, I wanted Happy Valentine's Day, so I'm going to stamp that with my Versamark ink on a piece of black cardstock. And then I'm going to go in with some Glacier White embossing powder And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to block it off, or I'm going to melt the embossing powder first, and then I blocked it off. So our sentiment's ready to go. I'm going to add some clear sequins behind my little lacy heart, and then add my colorful background there. Now I thought the interest of a black card base would look really pretty for this card. So this is a A2 size black cardstock base. I just placed that in the center, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my love and my Happy Valentine's Day. Add a few sequins on the outside just for a little extra shimmer. And that's my second card. I thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope this gives you a few ideas on what to do. Again, I'll leave links below to where you can check everything out if you're interested. And then thanks so much for stopping by. I wish you a fantastic day. We'll see you again real soon, guys. Bye-bye.